Boom, boom. It's the Leo Be the Lion Show. Boom, boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom, boom. Now here comes your boy Leo. Hey everybody, it's your boy Leo Be the Lion, and I'm coming to you live from Respectable Street. Hashtag Radio Respects. At Subculture Radio. Let's get it. All right, I got a jam-packed show for you today, and we're going to get into what we'll be talking about. But first, if you want to follow me on any socials, it's Leo Be the Lion 87 on IG. That's Leo Be the Lion 87. And on Twitter, it's Leo Be the Lion Show. I make it really easy for you. If you go into my link, you can follow my YouTube channel, Leo Be the Lion, where I will be giving you the video portion of the show. We're recording live as well, and I'll be uploading that later on in the week. So let's get into it. Got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, the Miami Dolphins, and their most recent preseason game that happened on August 13th, last Saturday night, where the Dolphins were able to beat Tampa Bay 26-24. Shout out to the Tampa Bay fans. It's just preseason, but, anytime we can beat an in-state rival, I'm happy about it. Happy that the Dolphins got the dub. Also, we'll be talking about Dan Marino and his career. I got off onto a little tangent this week doing some research about Dan Marino. Yeah, he never won a Super Bowl, but we'll get into why he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. We'll get into why every other quarterback of that era, when they asked who's the best quarterback, they would say Dan Marino. And then we'll also just get into what happened. Why didn't he win that Super Bowl? And a little bit more about it. Then we're going to be talking about a continuation from last week. Last week I did the AFC Playoff preview and the AFC NFL Awards. But this week I'm going to give you the NFC Playoff preview. The NFC Playoff preview might have some surprises in it, just to, allude to that and just to preview that. It might have some surprises in it. But if you disagree or if you agree with me, feel free to comment on my Twitter, IG, or even on my YouTube channel. I'm happy to answer and engage with the audience. Then we'll be talking about something else. I'm like a bowling alley because when I say things are right up my alley, I got like 20 alleys. So sports is right up my alley, but also finance is right up my alley. I've got a background in finance, my MBA, and we're going to be talking about a little finance corner. We're going to be talking about the markets and what happened today on the market, what's going to be happening this week, so what you can kind of expect on the market. And when I talk about market, I'm talking about U.S. equities. I'm not really talking about international markets. I'm not talking about bonds. I'm not talking about derivatives, although I will sometimes get into crypto. I'm mainly talking about U.S. equities, U.S. companies that are delivering earnings this week and what's going on in the U.S. markets, the U.S. economy that you should look out for. But just know that this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not really trying to give you financial advice, but if you want to follow what Leo Be the Lion says or does, be my guest. But let's just have some fun with it. Then I'm going to be talking about the NFL Top 100. What were some surprises of it? What were some players that got on there from the Dolphins? And why there was a player up in New England who I don't think maybe should have gotten number 85 on the top 100 of the NFL players this year for the 23 season. Also, we'll be talking about a little bit more of a grab bag if we have time. There's a couple things I just wanted to add at the end if we have time, and we'll be discussing that. So without further ado, let's get into our first topic, Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. So, the Miami Dolphins and their week one preseason recap. Now, remember, the preseason is down to 3 games now. They eliminated 1 game, and they added an extra regular season game to the NFL season. And so there's 3 preseason games. Usually the first preseason in the past, not very many starters play. They may play 1 series. Well, the Dolphins had 16 starters out. And the Bucs also had double-digit starters out, including all the mainstays, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, their receivers, Vita Vea. There were some players that the Bucs didn't play, but at the same time, the Dolphins didn't play their starters. Tua didn't play, Waddle didn't play, Tyreek Hill didn't play, and about 8 out of 11 defensive starters didn't play. So to those people, those Dolphin haters that say, "Oh, well, they just beat, they showed what the Bucs could do against their second string. They didn't play against Tom Brady. That's why they performed so good, so well." But nah, because the Dolphins and the Bucs were practicing the ones versus the ones, the starters versus the starters all week last week. Since Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they practiced against each other. They scrimmaged against each other. And what I could tell you is on Thursday, Tua threw for 5 touchdowns against the number 1 defense, the starting defense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Also, Tyreek Hill was schooling them boys, basically leaving them in the dust, burning every play, and he had the ability to run his routes. So the main difference between Tyreek Hill and other receivers is that, yeah, he's fast. He's the fastest guy on the team. But there's fast guys who can't run routes. There's fast guys who can't catch. But Tyreek Hill is a fast guy who can run routes and he can catch. So when you see that, you got to say to yourself, oh, he's just not a speed guy. He's a speed possession receiver, like mixed in together. You need a first down? Oh, Tyreek Hill's right there. You got 7 yards, you need to get 5 more? Oh, he's going to get those yak yards. And don't let me get started on Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki, Cedric Wilson, Chase Edmonds, and Raheem Mostert. Oh, yeah, we got speed for days. We have a wealth of riches for speed. Speed kills from the Speed State. Come on, Miami Dolphins. Let's make it to the Super Bowl. All right, let me slow down with that one. Let me pump the brakes. But a couple players that I thought really stood out for the Dolphins, and we'll just get into some news and notes as to, who I think stood out, what needs to be improved, and then we'll get into some cons of the game because it's not all positive that came out of the preseason game. And then we'll look at, I want to look at preview the Raiders game. On August 20th, the Dolphins play the Raiders, and I want to look at that. That's going to be in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, and I want to look at, just give you guys a little preview before we go on to the next subject. So the first player that I think had a great showing and locked up his spot on the team, not the practice squad, but I think Skylar Thompson, the 7th-round pick this year out of Kansas State. He didn't have that many. He only started 10 games last year for Kansas State. And he only threw 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. But he had a completion percentage of 69%. And so when the Dolphins took a flyer on him for pick 247 in the 7th round, it was more as just like, all right, let's just see if we can add some depth. Let's hope that he can make the team. Let's maybe put him on the practice squad so we can kind of replicate Tua during practice days and stuff like that. But he was able to go 20 for 28, 1 TD with 106 QB quarterback rating. So for those of you who don't know, a quarterback rating basically measures their completions, the quarterback's interceptions to touchdowns, and their yards. And the highest rating you can get is a 158. Usually over about 85 is a pretty doggone good rating. So if you have a quarterback rating over 85, not the QBR because that's 0 to 100, but if you have a quarterback rating of over 85, before Steve Young retired, he was the highest rated quarterback ever with QB rating, and his QB rating I want to say was about like 92. So that just shows you how how quarterbacks can get rated. So if you're over 85, you're probably above average. You're probably having a good game. So Skylar Thompson had 106 rating. So he pretty much had a good game. And yeah, you could say it was against second, third stringers, but he's the third string quarterback. So him being the third string quarterback behind Teddy Bridgewater and Tua Tagovailoa, that just shows that he'll be ready to step in. I was reading a tweet earlier, I think it was from Cameron Wolf or one of the other Dolphin beat writers that I follow. Sorry if I couldn't give you the credit where credit is due, but y'all Dolphin beat writers, keep up the good work. He basically said that the Dolphins should have to keep Skylar Thompson on the 53-man roster because he's that good where if you put him on the practice squad, other teams would go and try to pick him up. So the Dolphins are going to have to use 3 roster spots on quarterbacks instead of having an emergency quarterback on the practice squad and then having a starter and a backup for each week. I'm interested to see if Skylar Thompson in the rest of the preseason can progress and take care of business like he needs to lock up his roster spot and to show that, God forbid, if anything does happen to Tua and Teddy Bridgewater, we'll have a third-string emergency quarterback come in and be able to not miss a beat in McDaniel's offense. Now, one good thing that I was proud of, also another good player that I was proud of, was Sam Eguavoen. Sam Eguavoen has been kind of a middle-of-the-road edge rusher for us. He's been able to make plays when they counted, but he didn't really see too many snaps. He was down on the depth chart, and he would come in as to give a guy a breather or maybe like a third down for a rushing to rush a quarterback. But the Dolphins were down, and he was able to get a fumble recovery for a touchdown, 20 yards, to give the Dolphins a lead 20-14. I was impressed by that because before that point in the game, I was thinking that the Bucs had kind of had their way with the Dolphins' defense. Yeah, I was kind of expecting the Bucs to have a pretty good offense and be able to score some points, and they did. But the defense made the plays when they counted or when they mattered most, and they were able to take advantage of the second string, the third string Bucs players and really be able to get the win. Preseason wins, losses doesn't really matter that much. To give you an illustration, the Baltimore Ravens have won 21 straight, including their most recent preseason game. In the past, since 2016, they've won 21 straight preseason games. And they haven't even been to the AFC Championship game. So, since then. And so that just shows you how much how little credence people give preseason win-loss records. But there is some credence to it. If you go winless in the preseason, it's about a 20% chance that you'll make the playoffs. If you go undefeated in the in the preseason, it's about 60% chance that you'll make the playoffs. So it's not really an exact science when it comes to preseason wins or losses, but you don't want to be winless. You want to at least get one win just to kind of like get the momentum towards the season. And ideally, you'd want that one win to come when your starters are playing the majority of the preseason game, when it's the dress rehearsal and when they're able to really show what they have while still being a vanilla offense. Another player that I really thought was coming on strong for the Dolphins was Trill Williams. Now, Trill Williams, it was his second year out of Syracuse. And anybody knows me know that during the college football season, I'll make a couple underdog bets on Syracuse because Dino Babers coaches those guys up. Dino Babers, when he got to Syracuse, he got players to rally around him. He's a great coach, and they always overachieve. Under Dino Babers, Syracuse has been able to overachieve. Now, people say, well, what's overachieving if they go 6-4 or 5-5? Syracuse, as a basketball school, is like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to football in the ACC. So think Vanderbilt for a minute in the SEC. Syracuse is supposed to be a doormat, a bottom feeder in the ACC, and they've been able to beat teams like an NC State or beat teams like a Florida State in the past and really get a signature win each year under Dino Babers. I really like what he's doing with the Syracuse program. And then when Trill Williams got drafted out of Syracuse to the New Orleans Saints, I thought he was a great player. And sometimes in football it's kind of funny because when you see certain names, when you see certain people's names, like if somebody's named Trill Williams or if somebody named Sauce Gardner, like they better be good with names like that. Like you would hope that they really can back up what they're saying or what they're called. So I really believe that Trill Williams was on his trajectory to have a breakout year, but sadly he tore his ACL in the preseason game. That's probably one of the most negative things that came out of the preseason game. We were relatively lucky, knock on wood, about the Dolphins not being injured. However, Trill Williams was going to be our fourth-string fourth-string defensive back, and he was going to be behind Howard and Byron Jones and Eric Rowe and Nick Needham and all those guys. And so now we're losing a fourth corner, but we were able to make a signing today for a player, and I'll get into that a little bit later, that I think is really going to be able to bolster the secondary and allow us to patch up those holes in the secondary, especially when we go into dime packages or formations, defensive formations where we need more than three corners on the field. I think it's important. I like our base defense. I really like our base 11 defense. However, when teams try to spread us out, we need to be able to cover. And something that the Dolphins haven't been able to do for the most part in the past 5 to 7 years is cover the tight end. So we're going to need our safeties to be able to cover the tight end or our linebackers to be able to cover the tight end. But when it comes down to it, you need those corners because the league has turned from being run the ball to win. Now it's pass the ball to win. So now you have to get the ball to your receivers, get the ball to your tight ends, and you have to be able to defend the pass to win the game and get pressure on the quarterback. Although it's not an exact science, like I've already said exact science twice. So if you had that in your bingo, go ahead and call it out. It's not an exact science because the Bengals were able to get 9 sacks last year in the championship game, or the Titans were able to get 9 sacks last year in the championship game against the Bengals, but the Bengals forced 3 interceptions on Ryan Tannehill. And you would say, if I got 9 sacks, I should win the game. But no, it didn't happen. So, unfortunately, I wanted the Titans to take that game. All right. So now, let's hope for next week the Dolphins have no injuries going forward. That's all that I could hope for. I'm not rooting for anybody else, any other teams to get injured. If you're going to play the Dolphins, I want your full strength so that team doesn't have to talk trash. When we play the Jets, I wish we could play the Jets with Zach Wilson. 1, because he's trash. 2, because I want them to be at full strength so they don't have any excuses when we beat the brakes off the Jets this year. Twice. Like when we play the Pats, I can't wait to put Mac Jones on a damn treadmill, have him running around, scrambling. I want it to be the hardest game that he's ever played against. And, I want him to be healthy. So bring it on, AFC East. Bring it on, Bills. Dolphins are coming for you, man. Now, I'm excited for the season. Like I've said in the past, I really think the Dolphins can be 12-5 and possibly make a Super Bowl run. In my AFC preview last week, I had the Dolphins going to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's a little homer pick, but sue me. I really like the Dolphins, and I think that they're going to be playing against the Bills in the AFC Championship. The Chiefs are going to lose to the Dolphins in the AFC playoffs, and it's going to come full circle where Tyreek Hill gets past his old team. So I can see the storylines now. It's like Tua versus Mahomes. Tyreek Hill is going back to his old stomping grounds. What's going to happen? Oh, the Dolphins are too much for the Chiefs. That would be great to hear. Now, the other thing that made me a little nervous when it came down to the Dolphins preseason game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If Myles Gaskin doesn't run for a 20-yard gain, the Dolphins only have about 29 yards rushing for the whole game. So with Myles Gaskin's 20-yard gain, they ran for 49 yards the whole game. And yeah, I did just say a few minutes ago that it's a passing league. However, if it's a passing league, you got to switch it up sometimes. Yeah, teams like the Cardinals can just literally come out there and just pass. But that's not the Dolphins. That's not the Mike McDaniel offense that we want to run. We want to be able to get our running backs involved, catching out of the backfield, running out of the backfield, running the ball. It's a little nerve-wracking when we can't run the ball against second-string players. Yeah, 4 out of our 5 offensive linemen didn't start. However, you would expect in the preseason, if we can pass the ball for over 200 yards and Skylar Thompson goes for 20 for 28, why couldn't we have a little bit more success on the ground? Now, maybe it was vanilla runs. Maybe it was like right up the middle, nothing too crazy. But I really wish that the Dolphins could sign maybe one more offensive lineman just to give them some more depth and just to give a little more confidence for the rushing game, for the running game this year. It's important to be able to set Tua up in his timing offense. You can't really play fake and be off schedule if the linebackers or the safeties don't step up and try to and keep them honest and don't guard the run. If the linebackers, the safeties, they don't have to worry about the run, and then you got those edge rushers that could just pin their ears back and run after the quarterback, Tua's going to be in trouble. Tua has great pocket presence. He's very accurate. But just like any quarterback, I don't care who it is, any quarterback hates pressure. If you give them pressure, they'd rather you be able to cover the guys for 15 seconds than to give pressure. Because at least with no pressure, they can at least scan the field and feel confident that they'll be able to put the ball into the right window. But with the pressure, it just throws everything out of whack. It throws the whole team off schedule. Just imagine you have a route that's a 15-yard route, and it takes 2.5 seconds for the receiver to get into his break, but Aaron Donald is breathing down your neck in 1.7 seconds. Yeah, that happens. That happens in the NFL. And it's literally that's minute of a difference. Not even a full second of a difference. That can be the difference between a completion, a touchdown, or a sack, or an interception. So you really need to be on point. The Dolphins really need to improve their running scheme. I like the zone running scheme. I like Mike McDaniel's offense, and I know it was week 1. So I'm trying not to get too worried about it. Like, I'm not trying to say the sky is falling or anything. If it was a meme, it would be that house on fire, and I would be like, this is fine. But in the back of my head, I'm still worried about that running game. But if we have speed on the outside, the running game will have to open up at some point because you can't put 8-9 guys in the box. Now, the last point I want to make about the Dolphins is, yes, Trill Williams did get injured. He got injured, right? But the Dolphins were able to sign a 29-year-old veteran named Mackenzie Alexander from Minnesota. Now, he's got about 200 tackles in his career. He's been playing for about 6 years. Only has 3 interceptions. So it seems that, he's been serviceable. He's been a good corner. And like I said, the Dolphins have been hoping to, since Trill Williams got injured, they've been hoping to plug in that 4th corner spot and that 4th spot on the depth chart. So if Mackenzie Alexander can come in and show, maybe if he can get all the way to the nickelback, move from 4 to 3, that will be a great competition for the Dolphins and only make the team better. Also, he's from Immokalee, so he's a Florida guy. He's a native. Welcome back to Florida, Mackenzie Alexander. And I hope you have tremendous success with the Miami Dolphins. And I hope that you're fighting Byron Jones for that second DB spot. I like Byron Jones. I like Howard. I like Javon Holland. I like Brandon Jones. But if Mackenzie Alexander can come in and show what he's got, then I would really, really be excited to see if he can push the other corners to even raise their level than All-Pro already. That would be awesome. Now, to switch gears just a little bit, we're still talking about the Dolphins, but I'm talking about Dan the Man Marino, the Pittsburgh quarterback that, due to his party history, his history of partying in the 80s, went down to the mid-20s to get drafted, and in some say some of the best quarterback draft ever, in the same draft as John Elway, Jim Kelly, and Dan Marino. And I'm forgetting one guy. I don't know why, but I'm forgetting the other guy. But Jim Kelly, Dan Marino, and John Elway. I know there was one more great quarterback that came out of that draft. If you remember, tweet at me at Leo B. The Lion Show, or DM me at Leo B. The Lion 87. Or I'll give you options on this show. We give you options, but it's not a paralysis by analysis. Just pick one. So, or comment on Leo B. The Lion on YouTube. I'd be happy to debate with you of what you think and what I'm going to say about Dan Marino coming up next. So Dan Marino had one of the most prolific, if not the most prolific, quarterback careers that had ever lived, but at the time of his retirement. When Dan Marino retired in 1999, he held over 40 regular season, single season, and career quarterback records. That's 40 records he held at the time of his retirement. He came into the league highly touted with a quick release, that kind of like mullet haircut, and that Colgate smile, and he was ready to take the league by storm. He played 9 games in his first year, 1983, and the team went 7-2. And then in his second year, in his second season, 1984 season, which some would say is the best year that any quarterback's ever had up until that point. He was his 1984, and his best year was he threw for 48 touchdowns, which was a record at the time, 5,048 yards, which was a record at the time, and he had 9 300-yard passing games, which was a record at the time, and 3 400-yard games, which was a record at the time. I know that sounds like a broken record, but it just shows you how amazing Dan Marino was. And just to give you a little bit of background on the defense at the time, this was in the 80s and 90s. So the defense at the time was able to bump and run your receivers and be able to hand check at the past the 5 yards. So one, if you had receivers that couldn't get off the break, that couldn't get off the bump and run, the timing was going to be messed up. If you had receivers that weren't physical, they were going to be able to be bumped off their routes. So you needed an accurate quarterback. You needed a quarterback that could have a great arm. And you needed a quarterback with some moxie that could stand in there and take a punch, take a hit, and still get the ball off with accuracy and quickly release the ball before the defensive line was coming at him. Oh, also, you could tackle the quarterback just like any other player on the NFL field. You could go low, you could go high, you could spear him into the ground, you could hit him helmet to helmet. There was so many ways that you could hit the quarterback, where nowadays in the NFL, since Tom Brady rule, I contend and I argue that it was because of Tom Brady, you can't hit the quarterback below the knees. You can't hit the quarterback above the shoulders. You can't hit the quarterback above the numbers. Like, it sounds so ridiculous. You can't hit the quarterback below his belt. So it's like, where are you supposed to tackle the quarterback? You got to wrap up on him, but you can't bring the quarterback to the ground with force. You can't. You can only be a half step away from the quarterback, where in the past, before they called roughing the passer, it was 2 steps away from the quarterback. The game has changed so much that I have no problem, 100% clear conscious, saying that Dan Marino would have thrown for at least 6,000 yards and 60 touchdowns, probably a season, in this NFL. When you have players like Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady, Peyton Manning breaking records, Dan Marino would have been the logical guy. He was ahead of his time. He was 25 years ahead of his time, or 20 years ahead of his time. If he was playing in this league, the Dolphins would be year in and year out Super Bowl contenders, just like the Chiefs are with Patrick Mahomes. In 1984, when he did win the MVP, he went to the Super Bowl, he beat the Steelers to get there, his only AFC championship win. He was able to throw in that AFC championship win. He was able to throw for 421 yards and 4 TDs. And that's 1984, people. 421 yards and 4 TDs in 1984. That's ballerific. I want to act ballerific like it's all terrific. Let's go. Next, he went to the the AFC Championship the following year. In week 15 of 1985, the undefeated Bears came to Miami on a Monday Night Football. The Dolphins had all of the 1972 undefeated team there because the Bears were the team that had been, since the Dolphins went undefeated in 1972, the 1985 Bears were the team closest to going undefeated in that time. Well, Dan Marino just basically destroyed the Bears' 46 defense and handily destroyed the Bears' 46 defense and was able to beat the Bears and give them their only loss in the whole year because the Bears went on to win the Super Bowl and they went on to be 15-1. What makes this, why do I bring up the regular season game against the Bears? Because after the Super Bowl heartbreak of getting blown out by 38-16 against the Niners, Dan Marino in the AFC Championship played against the New England Patriots. And if we could have just been able to beat the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game, for those of you that don't know, the Patriots lost to the Bears in the Super Bowl 46-10, which in 1985 that was the biggest Super Bowl blowout ever. And so you're sitting there saying, well, Dan Marino destroyed the Bears in week 15, and that was their only loss. If Dan Marino could have just got to the doggone Super Bowl against the Bears, he would have destroyed the 46 defense against the Bears. But the Patriots had Steve Grogan, whoever the hell that is, and they somehow beat the Dolphins. Dan Marino had a terrible AFC Championship game. He only threw for a touchdown, got sacked 3 times, and threw 2 picks. So he basically ruined his chances right there. Then, the next time he had a chance to get back to the Super Bowl was not until 1993. A series of bad drafts, a series of draft busts by Don Shula had cost at this time the Dolphins' running game and the Dolphins' defense. It was mainly about getting Dan Marino all his weapons on offense, but they, for some reason, never could get a running game. And then the Dolphins didn't really have a defense until 3 years before Dan Marino retired, when they got Zach Thomas and Jason Taylor and Sam Madison and those guys, so they were able to actually have a defense. But by that time, it was already too late for Dan Marino. So let's go to Dan Marino's last AFC Championship game. It was against the Buffalo Bills in 1993. Now, the Buffalo Bills had been to 2 straight Super Bowls at that time, and they were looking to go to a third. And the Dolphins at first looked like they were going to be able to handle the Bills. Then they went up and they were in the lead early. I think it was 7-3. And then after that, the Bills' defense was able to stymie and stifle Dan Marino. Like, it seems like it was a thing where he threw 2 picks again, and he got sacked 4 times. And so, also, the Dolphins' defense in 1993 couldn't catch a cold. They couldn't stop anything. Thurman Thomas had one of his career games against the Dolphins in the AFC Championship, and it just caused the Bills to get to the Super Bowl. But I I can't help but think of woulda, shoulda, coulda. If Dan Marino could have got there, who knows what could have happened against the Cowboys? Because the Bills, for some reason, they were snake bitten when it came to the Super Bowl. We all know they lost 4 straight Super Bowls, and 2 to the Cowboys, 1 to the Giants, 1 to the Redskins, or now Commanders. And you just can't help but think, woulda, shoulda, coulda with Dan Marino's career. I mean, every day I think about that. Like, as a Dolphins fan, I'm thinking, dog, he just couldn't win 1 Super Bowl? Like, he got there once, and then he lost twice, and he couldn't do anything. So my thing that makes me think, and this is kind of like my conspiracy theory. So if you're listening right now, conspiracy theorists, put your tinfoil hat on. You've seen shows and dramas where, or the Twilight Zone episode, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a Twilight Zone episode that gives you where the devil is basically selling something. So he'll give you a lucky rabbit's foot. But what he doesn't tell you is that you'll get lucky, but every time you rub the rabbit's foot, somebody in your life will die or something bad will happen. Or he'll give you a box, but then he says, okay, if you press the box, you'll get $1 million, but then somebody that you know will die. And that's from the movie The Box, but you kind of get that drift. So my wacky conspiracy theory is that at some point, Dan Marino must have made a deal with the devil. Like, how do you be that good, the most prolific quarterback that has ever lived at the time of his retirement, but never win a Super Bowl? That just feels like ironic to me. That feels like he made a deal with the devil to be the most prolific passer. And he said, yeah, of course, I'll do anything. I'll be the best. I just want to have the best passer that ever lived. And the devil was like, sure, you can be the best passer that ever lived, but I'm just going to tell you, you're never going to win a Super Bowl. And that was the catch. So I'm going to just, basically rest on that one, because I think that what other way could we explain it is that he just didn't have a defense and he didn't have a running game. Okay. It's frustrating for Dolphins fans not to see number 13 get a Super Bowl. So now let's get into the NFC predictions for this year for the NFL. My offensive player of the year is going to be Kyler Murray. I really think now that they've extended his contract, he's going to have a great year. He has the weapons around him. They just extended his couple of his receivers. Yeah, they're going to be without DeAndre Hopkins for the first 6 games, but I think that the Cardinals will be able to bounce back, and I do think that the offensive player of the year for the NFC is going to be Kyler Murray. I really think people are underestimating him, and he's got that Mighty Mouse quality to him where, if he's underestimated, if people think he doesn't study, well, that's exactly what he wants you to think, and he'll be able to take care of business after that. Then, my defensive player of the year for the NFC is Micah Parsons. Now, Micah Parsons had double-digit sacks last year. He was the rookie of the year. I really think he can build off this for his sophomore season. I really think he can build off this and be the defensive player of the year for the NFC. Aaron Donald, as always, is a favorite to win the defensive player of the year. He's done it 4 times already. But I really think that maybe he's going to rest on his laurels. He did win the Super Bowl. He was contemplating retirement. Micah Parsons is a second-year player. Who's hungrier when you think about it? So I really think Micah Parsons is going to be able to take care of business and take the DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, home. Now let's get into the division predictions and the playoff races. So the first playoff race, or the first playoff seed for the NFC, is going to be the Green Bay Packers. I think they're going to go 14-3. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have another stellar season. Yeah, he doesn't have all his number one receivers and stuff like that. The Packers haven't drafted a number one receiver in so long, blah, blah, blah. But as long as you have Aaron Rodgers there, you're a favorite to win the whole NFC and go to the Super Bowl. The second seed for the NFC will be the Arizona Cardinals. The Packers will own the tiebreak with the Cardinals, and the Cardinals will be 14-3. And like I said, the Offensive Player of the Year, Kyler Murray, will be leading the Cardinals to a second seed in the NFC. The third seed and the first 4 seeds, for those of you that don't know, are all division winners. So the third seed is going to come from the NFC South, and that's going to be the New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints, I have them going 12-5 with famous Jameis, and Taysom Hill, and their players. They got Michael Thomas back, and Alvin Kamara is going to be back at some point. So I really think the Saints can win the division. The Bucs are going to have a down year. The other two teams, the Panthers, have Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield as quarterback. So you basically have the Saints and the Bucs are the top two teams. I don't really trust the Falcons. Yeah, they have Marcus Mariota, but I don't trust that really. I really think that the Saints and the Bucs are going to be fighting it out for the division race for the NFC South. The fourth team is the Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders are going to win the NFC East, or the NFC Least, as they like to say, with a record of 11-6. I like Terry McLaurin. I don't really like Carson Wentz, but I just think that out of all the teams in the NFC East, it's going to come down to the Eagles and the Commanders. But I think the Commanders will be able to take it. They're the dark horse team, and I just feel like the Commanders are going to come out of nowhere with Chase Young being a stalwart on that defense and being the anchor for that defense. Then, as a fifth seed in the first wild card, I have the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Los Angeles Rams, coming off the Super Bowl, the defending champs, but the reason why I have them as the fifth seed is some of you may have not heard, but Matt Stafford's arm isn't 100%. He's got what they call as a dead arm, some nerve damage in his arm. And in the past, teams would shoot up the player on his elbow, and his arm would be okay. Well, they did that with Matt Stafford, and his arm is taking longer to heal, per sources within the Rams camp. So I don't think the Rams are going to be as good as they were last year. Yeah, they're going to still have the vaunted defense, and they'll still have all the weapons, Cooper Kupp and them. But I think they'll go 12-5 in the competitive NFC West, and they'll be the fifth seed, the first wild card. And we have, for the sixth seed, we have the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys in the sixth seed because Dak Prescott's back. You know, knock on wood, he won't get hurt again. The Dallas still has Ezekiel Elliott, still have their wide receivers, and like I said, they might have the future Defensive Player of the Year and Micah Parsons on their defense with Trayvon Diggs. So I like Dallas to finish 10-7 and be the sixth seed. Then, as the seventh seed, the final wild card spot, I like them to sneak in on Week 18. It will be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 10-7. They'll sneak in. They'll be 10-7. Tom Brady will be wondering, why did I ever come back for this? And they'll probably get bounced first round. So let's go to the wild card round. I have 2 seed versus the 7 seed. That's Arizona versus Tampa Bay. I have Arizona winning that game. Tampa Bay's defense can only take them so far. I really think Tom Brady's going to fall off like a Big Mac topping on this date. And then you have the 3 versus 6 matchup with his New Orleans versus Dallas. I like Dallas to win that. Dak Prescott will have a big game. Then the 4 versus 5, you have Washington Commanders versus Rams. I like the Rams to win that too. I don't think Washington, I'll believe in Washington. I think that they are playoff worthy. They're capable of winning the division, but they're like a one-and-done team in my opinion. Then we get to the divisional round where Green Bay, having the bye, will be able to take on Dallas, the lowest remaining seed, and Green Bay will easily take care of business in Lambeau against Dallas. Then we have Arizona versus Los Angeles Rams, and Arizona will be winning that. So we'll have a Green Bay, Arizona NFC Championship game. Aaron Rodgers to go to the Super Bowl. Maybe one last hurrah for him, and then we'll have the young upstart Kyler Murray trying to get to the Super Bowl for the first time. And I really think that'll be a great matchup. 2 decent defenses and 2 good quarterbacks to go at each other in the NFC Championship. But I think finally Aaron Rodgers will get over the hump again, get back to a Super Bowl for the first time in 15 years or so, or 12 years. And then run up against the Dolphins. And what will be different? What will be different this time? It'll be Tua. Tua's meant to be. He's a legend. The legend status is just growing. The Dolphins will win 31-27 for Super Bowl 57 in Arizona to win their third Super Bowl in 6 tries. Now let's switch gears really quickly for the end of the show, and I'm gonna be giving you a little preview of what to expect in the stock market this week, what happened today on the market, and what you can expect for U.S. equities going forward for this week. I like to combine finance and sports, and just to give you a little different flavor every now and then. So today, on August 15th, there was a housing market. The new home sales housing starts were the highest that they've been year over year. So housing is growing again. We see that, it might have slowed down with the higher interest rates, but builders haven't stopped building. They might have gotten a little break on their lumber prices because lumber prices have gone down, and then also other commodity prices have gone down. Houses are getting smarter. Houses are getting more electronic. So when you think about it, the smart devices, the smart things that go into the house may be contributing to the appreciation as well as the supply and demand. There's very little supply of new inventory of homes, of new homes. Also, the Empire State Index came out today, and they were expecting it to be 5. It's an Empire State Manufacturing Index. So what that means is they look at New York, which is the Empire State, and their manufacturing. Traditionally, it's been one of the leading indicators, which basically is a way to gauge how the economy is doing. Well, the leading indicator of the Empire State Manufacturing Index said it was negative 31, and they were expecting 5. So that means manufacturing went down this past month, for the month of July, tremendously. And so if manufacturing is slowing down, one would wonder if we are headed towards a recession. Yeah, we have the higher inflation. The Fed is trying to control that. But there are some signals that we may be heading towards not just the recession on the stock market, which is 2 quarters of shrinking growth, but a broader recession for the entire economy. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Coming up tomorrow on the market is going to be the earnings report for several big companies. We got Walmart reporting earnings, Home Depot, and then we have housing starts for July. Now, I said new home index was today. Housing starts are tomorrow, and that just basically tells you how many new homes are being built. Are they breaking ground on new homes? Are developers building new homes, whether it be condos, single-family homes, what have you, residential neighborhoods? Are they able to grow the market and introduce new inventory of housing to the area? Well, we'll look out for that. I expect that to actually go down, to be less than it was in June, the July reading, because, one, usually the housing market is hotter in the summer. But like I said, with the new interest rates, the housing starts may stay even, because if you think about it, those contractors are already under contract for this time to build the houses anyway. So it's not like the interest rates, it's not like they're signing a new contract in July to break ground in July. They signed the contract months ago to break ground in July, so now they were already going to start making their houses in July. So I expect that reading, the results for the housing starts for the month of July to remain level. I expect Walmart earnings to actually increase a little bit with back to school in July. They had the tax-free week, and I expect Walmart earnings to probably increase, as well as Home Depot, and them to beat earnings because of the way that retail business has been. Something really special that I think you need to pay attention to is on Wednesday is the retail sales. Retail sales I expect to fall off a little bit since June. Inflation has really been hitting the retail market. People are getting less for their buck. If you go in and buy a Gatorade, it's now $3, but instead of being 32 ounces, it's 28 ounces. You didn't see that. pay attention when you're buying. Buyer beware. So I expect retail sales to be down to reflect the inflationary pressure and to show that businesses have taken a little bit of a hit. People are still spending money, still spending discretionary income, but perhaps they're spending it on their credit card and adding more debt. So that could be something to watch out for. And on that same day, Lowe's, Cisco, TJ Maxx, and Target are reporting earnings. So that would just be a great illustration of what earnings will be and what retail sales are. Then finally on Friday, John Deere is reporting, and I think it's just going to be an up week for the market. They're going to continue. The S&P has been growing. It grew last week. And I just think it's going to continue bouncing back from June when it was hitting lows. Next week, I'm going to be talking about what to expect for NFL football lines when the regular season gets started, how I'm going to be betting, what I'm looking for. And also, I'm going to be talking about a little story time about my family, get to know Leo B. the Lion a little bit more, and where I grew up. And then also we'll be talking about NBA professionalism, how the betting lines have changed, and NIL deals. I love the NIL deals for players in college. However, there's players walking away from the game without ever playing a game. So we'll get into that as to why would players do that? Why would high school players get paid $1 million, get paid 7-figure contracts, and then walk away from their college football? Well, because they're still guaranteed that NIL money. So we'll get into that next week. If you guys don't know, it's Leo B. the Lion Show, broadcasting live from Subculture, Respectable Street, thanks to subcultureradio.com and the Subculture Radio app. Thank you to them for allowing me to put on this Leo B. the Lion Show, and you can follow me on Twitter at Leo B. the Lion Show or on Instagram at Leo B. the Lion 87. The video links will be posted later on this week at my YouTube channel, Leo B. the Lion. Please subscribe, like, and comment. I'd love to debate with you. And it's been a pleasure bringing you this show. Have a great, great, great week, everybody, in West Palm Beach. Love ya. Leo B. the Lion signing off. Thanks, guys.